Back to Camera Raw. If we want to open a PSD in Camera Raw, it's not an option. All right? If we want to open an NEF, we can right-click and it will say Open in Camera Raw. Or we can open a JPEG. If you double-click on that JPEG, what's going to happen is it's just going to open into Photoshop because that's the default. So you've got to actively tell it to open in Camera Raw. You can go to this little icon here, which will open in Camera Raw, or right-click, open in Camera Raw. So you just have a couple of limitations with the RAW as opposed to the JPEG. Your white balance, you don't have as many options, but no big deal because you've got the sliders still. Now an image like this is pretty subjective. You know, you could go very, very warm, you could go very cool. It's only going to start to, just kind of don't want to make the sign or the building look too wonky, but you could play around with that. Let's look at our histogram. We've got a lot of shadow, a lot of black, not a lot of midtones, and not a lot of highlights or white. But let's drag our exposure this way. So in this case, it's really opening up parts of this, but it's not really opening up parts of this, and we're losing a little bit of the mood, right? So maybe we don't go like this until we can see everything. We just go maybe half a stop. Right? Hit the letter P before and after. Highlights. If we do that, we notice how we blow all the highlights out here. And we also have this spike saying, don't do it. Just don't do it. Slow your roll. If we drag it to the left, it actually brings in a little more information. Now, the shadow slider should work pretty well. Drag it to the right. It opens up the shadows. Look at the car. And you can see how it's revealing a lot of information. For an image like this that's really kind of dark and more about mood as opposed to like an informative, like this is not a car commercial because we can't tell what color, you know, what car it is. You can be a little more subjective about it. White, we could drag, I think we could drag the whites just a little bit to the right. This is before and after. We're bringing out parts of the car and better defining this part of the photograph. If you look at the photograph overall, it's not great for composition to have a big dark black area rooted in the corner. You tend to lose the rest of the image. Now with the black slider, we've got a pretty good black section on our histogram, so doing something like this is going to make these pixels pitch black. How do I know that? Well, I have my shadow highlight warning on, and also if I hover over, look at the values for RGB, 0, and that is pure black, so maybe we don't do that. We could open it up a little bit, but then we start to lose some of the intensity in the sky. Maybe add a little clarity, give it a little bit of boost. Now, I want to bring the sky back in a little bit. I'm going to hit K. K is the adjustment brush. And what this allows you to do is dodge and burn and a million other things, but on a localized level as opposed to a global level. So if I want to add more exposure to, say, the car, I can get a big brush with a nice feather on it. I'm going to lower the flow and the density. And I could add extra time to just that spot. And you can see that you can edit it, live edit it. It's pretty fabulous.
So you just grab the brush.
You just grab the brush. It's K. K in, K out, the adjustment brush. Go to New, and in this case, I want to add a little more sass back to my sky. That's a lot of sass. And I can say maybe just a hint of sass. Okay. I can also apply any of these other settings to the brush that is selected because it's got the little black dot. If I hover over that little pin, a mask will come on saying, this is what I am affecting. If you go over the building, you could also grab the eraser and just, you know, edit your brush. Okay. I would definitely feather it so it doesn't look so crazy. Okay. If you think, well, you know, that's not my favorite, just select it and hit delete. Select it, hit delete. and then hit done. And you go back into Bridge, and you've got your image with the Death Star saying, hey, I'm pretty cool. I want to show you one more thing. If I hit Open Image, look what happens in Photoshop. I have a normal background layer that's locked. I can't go back into Bridge, into Camera Raw. I have broken that link. So let me close this. If I am in Camera Raw and I hold down the Shift, Open Image changes to Open Object, which is a smart object. And then it lets me go, I can add text, I can duplicate the layer, make a blank layer for retouching. I want to, maybe clean up. Oh, I know, I'm not in CS6. I'm in CS6, not Creative Cloud. I know. Okay, we're just gonna do some terrible retouching. So bad it's good. We'll let it think about it for a little bit. And I could change my mind, I could do whatever I wanted. Now, if my client comes to me and says, oh, you know what? This has got to be, that blue is way too blue. You can double click on that smart object layer, go to the 4th tab over, saturation, and desaturate the blues. Hit OK, and it will update the smart object in that Photoshop file. So this smart object layer is a direct link back to Camera Raw. Think of it like the Rainbow Bridge in Asgard, right? When Thor wants to go back to see his family, he has to take the Rainbow Bridge. If someone blows up the Rainbow Bridge, so if your layers look like this, because you opened image and not opened object, you've essentially blown up the Rainbow Bridge. Cool? That's right.